One day it will happen to you.
Well, good gracious alive. Come on this way.
Not trying to jinx you, but if you're drag racing,
Second fire.
your RC car,
Damn.
as beautiful as that paint job you did, as straight as you got it going, one day it will happen. What's up, everybody? I know I've been missing in action a little bit ever since the Houston trip, but you know, like I always tell everybody, the real world is always happening. So sometimes that don't allow for racing. Sometimes they don't allow for whatever your plans are. Sometimes you have life make plans for you sometimes. So I hope everybody's been good. Everybody's been great. Yes, we will be racing again. The racing is not over. I've actually in works with a guy on a spot that he has out that I'm waiting to show everybody. But I think it's going to be something different, something tight. Also, I just decided I'd sit down with y'all for a few minutes. And I started this channel saying that I was going to share my drag journey. So right now, I guess what I'm doing is some of that. I've been dragging on doing content like this because I don't know who likes it, who don't. So I tried to put what you guys would like to see up. So if it's something you want, you know, I always say put it in the comments. All right, so I guess today what I'm gonna talk about is if you're new to this hobby or if you are thinking about doing this hobby, these are some things that I would tell you now. I did a video like this, I think it was over a year ago, and the list was very different. So with more experience, more teachings, and more learnings from mistakes and reading and whatever you could do to pull up some knowledge to try to get faster, my list has changed a little bit. So now I've been racing like off and on 3 years, but just street racing, nothing competitive on a major level, but I've raced against people that has raced on the major level. So I've seen what speed looks like, and you know, I'm working on getting there. So for those who are thinking about doing this, I guess I would say first, go watch one. Find somewhere that they're having an RC event, or if you can't find nowhere, watch some videos. They don't really make it look like what you'll see if you're there. So that's why I recommend, if you can, to go, because it's something you need to see in person. And different areas you'll find people's fast, and then when you see the prep game versus dry tire game, you'll learn a whole new type of speed. Me myself, I hadn't even tried the prep game yet, because I don't think I'm ready. Once I get better with the dry tire, then I'll try to step up with the big fellas. I'm a realist. I've seen some guys I know I'm not ready for. And I've been racing with some guys, Ralph, Mark, Smiley, let me see, Kerry. It's a lot of people on that list at the beginning. I think I said Mark. I've actually got to race 5150. I pulled him first round in a cash pot tournament. Took me out quick. Let me see, who else? I don't know. But anyway, like I say, I've raced some of the fastest that's out there, so I know what it looks like. I've raced some of them dry tire, and I've watched them race wet tire. This past event that Houston had for the last qualifying for later this year, if you guys can go. The area they have is nice. Even it was a hot day that day, but we didn't feel it. We was in the shade. By the time the races were starting to get going, the sun was going down. But doing testing, the area that we were parked in was well shaded, and there was a breeze constantly come through. So we were comfortable compared to some of the places I race at here. So if you can make the Houston run, I say go for it. That's a place that you could see some of the racing that I'm talking about. But back to my point, if you're thinking about doing this, I do say find somewhere to go and watch, because when I started with a different car, about 3 cars before I made it. I bought 2 before I made it to the 7 scale. And once I got there, I didn't look back. Now, I'm not telling you that's going to be the car you want, the car you pick. That's why I say go and watch and see what you like. Everybody's got different tastes, different things that they like. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking nobody. Mine just happened to be the 7 scale. Let's see. I got some questions down here I'm trying to go by. Okay. All right, so here we go. So, if you're gonna get started in the game, here are some of the things that I wish I knew about coming in. When I came in, I was confused about a lot of things because there was so much to learn, and it was like, man, how am I gonna learn all of this? Okay, things I wish I'd have known when I was getting started in it. First of all, I wish I'd have went and watched some races so I would have known what I wanted instead of just jumping in like I did. But I'm cool with how my journey went. Everybody's will be different. But one of the things that I was confused about when I first got into it was batteries. It's like, man, how do I get faster? Well, I started watching YouTube videos like most of us do, and one of the first things I saw was get a bigger battery. Bigger battery makes you go faster. Well, that's true in most cases, but there are people out there running with 2S's and 4S's doing incredible speeds, and I'm talking about even in 7 scales where they running 4S they're not even running 8. Everybody thinks first thing you need to do when you get this, including me, I ain't gonna say I was an exception. First thing you needed to do was put an 8S system in your car. But like I said, you live and you learn, okay? So, and you'll hear people talk about battery sizes. You'll hear 2S, 3S, 4S, 6S, 8S. And yes, you can run odd numbers in between, even though people don't say it. You can run a 5, but like a 2S and a 3S. I've heard the best way to do it though is make sure your milliamps match and your punch match up. Let me see, like a 3S 5,000 milliamp 100C and a 4S 5,000 milliamp 100C. As long as you don't exceed the limit of your ESC, which is like if you're running an 8S or a 6S or 4S or 3S or whatever you're running, you just don't want to go past the limit that it tells you. And please read your books, everybody, especially those that are new to the hobby. Now, everything I'm talking about to the veterans, I know you know this. You probably done already stopped watching by now. One thing that I have learned, and people hear me when I say this, YouTubers who went and bought cars, and you go home and you run it down the street and it looks fast, and you're like, oh yeah, I got one of the baddest out there. Don't film that and say that. I've never done it. I won't. If you go through all my videos, you won't hear me say that. I say I want to become one of the fastest. And I went on to say I want to become one of the fastest, and the only way to do that is to race the fastest. So that's a difference than coming out and saying, I'm the baddest, I'm the fastest. I watch so many guys do that, and I know that I could beat them. And I ain't nowhere near the fastest, nowhere near. So guys, when you're running your car and you think you're really doing something, I see some hold their remotes up and they do one hand hits, and basically I had time to get up and go to the refrigerator and come back by the time they crossed the finish line. So all I'm saying is make sure you are what you are if you're gonna put it out to the world, because somebody's gonna be out there waiting to cut your head when you do. If you hadn't, get your GNSS, strap it to your car, time your 132s, and I'm gonna tell you, if you're running anything 2 and up, forget about it. Don't even say you fast. You may be in your neighborhood. Now, I can't say that. You might be in your neighborhood, but 2.0 and 132, that's a joke. And that's work to get there. Right now, my fastest car is a 2.0 that I've clocked. And that's a joke. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna be real with you. I done got all off topic. Let me get back to where I was at. But yeah, the battery sizes. So you can get big batteries if you want, or you can learn to run with small batteries. You're gonna learn there's more than just battery sizes that you gonna have to do to get faster. Something else I wish I would have known about is KV and can sizes. You know, you got different series. You got a 16 something, a 17 series, 15 series. Then you got KVs where it's 800 KV up to, you'll hear even up to 4,000 or 5,000 KV, and that all is good and gravy. But don't go by a 10th scale 5,000 KV motor and try to put it in a 7th scale. I didn't do it, but I know some that would try. And all I'm saying is those can sizes are that size for a reason. and the KVs are different on different can sizes. So if you want to run a high KV, just make sure you're running the right series can for that size. Unless you know some tricks, and there are guys out there that do different things that you'll find out later in the game where they can break down the motor, do things to it, put it back together, and make them faster. So you'll find out when you get out there heavy, what you might see, it ain't even what you're seeing. You know, the game, just like in street motorcycle racing and car racing, where they might put something under the car to make it look one way, but actually it's something totally different. A dummy gas tank on a motorcycle, where it's got really a smaller tank for lighter weight. Things like that. There's stuff like that people know how to do with these cars that, you know, you wouldn't believe. But it's all about how serious you are. Like I say, so I wish I'd have known about the KVs and matching them up. The first thing I got was 1100 or was it 1250? But it was around that area KV, large can. Some around that area, if you're running the 8S, is a good safe start off area because they're not as easy to get hot, burn up. But when you start raising them KVs and getting a whole lot of RPMs, then that's when you can get stuff hot and burn it up. Cooling fans. In the beginning, I thought everything needed a cooling fan. Now, what I learned during cooler weather, I pretty much won't run them. But as it gets hotter, then I'm gonna start, you'll hear it now, because it's been averaging 105, 107. You're gonna hear whenever I do fire mine up again, fans. So, you know, fans are important, especially when you're drag racing, if you're using certain gearing, certain KVs, if you're pulling a lot of voltage, making a lot of heat, long story short. So like gears, the first thing I did gear-wise was whenever I got my car, I didn't study the game, and then I went and bought the biggest gear that I could put on. And due to the surface we were racing at the time, it favored that, and I did not know that. I didn't understand the game enough. So I'm thinking I was really moving fast, and all it was the surface we were on was so slippery that a tall gear was favored out there. But the moment someone came up that knew how to tune to the surface, and hear what I say, tune to the surface, they murdered me quickly and let me learn that it's more than just getting a bigger gear. Sometimes it's getting a smaller gear. You got to put time into it. You hear me say it all the time, but you got to put time into it if you're trying to do the speeds and the times that you're seeing these guys posting. And it's real. I saw them myself. I've seen them myself. I heard some people be like, man, them things ain't running that fast, so they faking, tricking those GNSSs. That's why I say go see yourself, and you wouldn't even need to see the time. You just know what you're seeing is incredible. Now, when we was talking about tuning a few seconds ago, one of the things about tuning that's big is learning your surfaces. Like I was saying earlier about a slippery surface. When the surface is warmer, and you can watch real drag races to get the same info, tires grip more, the track stickier, you know, so you want heat, but you don't want the heat on your ESC and your motor, but you want the heat on them tires so they can bite and grab more. I keep looking at my notes because I'm trying to make sure I don't forget nothing, because like I say, this is for the beginners. You'll hear people talk about gyros. When I first started, some of the guys that I raced with helped me to the game about AVC. That's also a part of the gyro control system in those cars that has AVC. And the more you turn it up, the more it would control your throttle as well as your steering. So I didn't want to lose throttle anywhere, so not knowing the game, I turned all that off. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, I was getting great power, but unless your car is perfectly in line, shocks everything, you are not going to go straight out over time. You're eventually going to have to do something to try to go straight. Like all my cars, I've had them, I haven't traded up for a new. Each car I bought, I've kept in 7 scale. So all these cars have taken plenty runs. I had to take my tools and fix something on them. You saw what happened at the beginning of the video, but I wanted throttle, so I killed the gyro. But then later I started hearing that there are specs in certain classes that run where there's no gyro. And so, you know, in that situation, I guess it was good for me to learn that game. But if you hear gyro, that's just a way of the car correcting itself. Or like with the new, I think it's Losi, the motorcycle. It's a gyro in that once you crank it up, you're hearing it spool up, but it just keeps the bike balanced straight up and down. Well, it does the same thing with the steering if you got the type of gyro for your car. But you got gyro and AVC. We talked about that. Remote controllers or transmitters. When you first start, learn the one you get with your car. Understand what a steering control and throttle control is doing on your remote. Let me see what else is on those simple remotes. I'm trying to think. I don't want to. You have your normal and reverse switches. All this stuff you need to understand in the beginning, because later they'll come in big when you try to start changing out motors, the ESCs and stuff like that. Because sometimes you have to reverse things and switch stuff around to make them fit in the car. But the remote controls, in the beginning, once you learn the simple ones, they'll graduate you up to the bigger remotes. I didn't buy a fancy remote off the jump. I learned what I had. I didn't even know the need for a fancier remote. But if you're serious and you start racing over time, you'll understand and see the need. I won't go into great detail, but there are reasons why you see all these guys with these, as some of my partners say, TV screens on their remotes. It's all about on-the-fly tuning and adjustments, and some need the screen to be lit. Like in my case, I can't see that good. The first remote I got stepped up was a DCX5, which it was a nice remote, but it wasn't a lit screen. It was an old school LCD screen, so you know it was nothing fancy on the look, but it was doing what I needed, and it made me understand more of what some of these guys were doing. Scale difference. Let's just say they get smaller, but we'll say 1/16 up to like a 1/10 to a 1/8 to a 1/7 to a 1/5. You know, all these are different size cars, but the denominator, the number on the bottom, the smaller that number, the bigger the car, or helicopter or motorcycle, whatever you're buying in remote control scales will be. Old school math. But you'll hear some people ask these questions, and if you don't ask, you won't know. And tire prep. I hear people ask, what is that? Are they putting honey on the ground? Don't put honey on the ground. No, they're not putting honey on the ground. They are putting actual tire prep. If you go to a real racetrack, or if you watch them, and when you see them walk, the ground is so sticky, it's like it'll pull their shoe off. Okay, well, these guys have made their own where they can use it at the track. Now, some places where you race, they require a prep area and bring your car with the tires prepped. And some don't. They don't care. You can prep at the starting line. Okay, and prepping mean some kind of preparation was done to make your tire stick, whether it's dry prep or wet prep. This is how I'll explain it. Wet prep, that's the sticky, the slime you see when it's all done. When you see it roll them, it makes the little slime trail. Okay, that's what I call wet prep. Dry prep. Some people take mean green, wash their tire out, soak it with mean green, let them dry, or some other kind of apply to their tire and let it dry. Now that is our tire prep, but it's a dry tire prep. So when they come to the line, their tire is dry. There's leaving no sticky residue, no kind of residue, just black marks. And usually the marks will be darker because they're burning off harder whenever there's some kind of tire prep involved. But those are the two types. And then you have no prep, meaning there's nothing on the tire, completely dry. You hadn't did no mean green, no nothing, you hadn't sprayed nothing in it, just a dry tire. Now that's what I run it at my races, and that's the way I've heard it by my understanding. All right, we're getting close to the end of this. Now, if you get in this and get heavy, and you start up with a group and you end up having a big group, now listen to this fair warning. Don't expect the group to stay big, okay? If you do, you're one of those that's lucky. You're gonna end up with a core, you're gonna end up with a base, but don't expect. Yeah, I'm still recording, son. You're gonna have to expect things to happen where people gonna come and go. Now, if you're doing it because you love it, you'll be fine. You'll still keep doing your thing. But if you need the big groups to race and stuff like that, I recommend don't just depend on your area. You're gonna have to get out and move around and find other areas. Find people that's having the same problem you have, even to where y'all may get together. Now you have taken your 6 and their 6, and now you got 12. Or your 10 and their 10, and now you got 20 racing. So, and just my advice is to be prepared to see the groups grow and decrease. Get big, get small. That's gonna happen. But don't let it deter you. If you really like doing what you're doing, just keep doing it. You'll always find somebody that want to race. So, for me, if I have to, I will just work on getting my car faster. So when that next big event come, I'll be ready for it. You know what I'm saying? There's always a reason if you really want to drag race in this sport. And yes, I did say sport. So I think I gave you all the advice I could give and try to remember. One quick thing on the tires. You'll hear this hooning. You got hooning, you got drag racing, and you got speed runs. Hooning is basically having a great time with your car. You want to hold that throttle down as long as you can. You want to drain that battery, but you want to drain it having a good time doing donuts, 360s, making figure eights, shooting up and down the street. That's bashing. Bashing takes a different type of gearing, okay? Hear me when I say that. And usually what comes stock in your felony or infraction, I don't know about any other 7 scales, but usually what comes stock in there gear-wise is set up for hooning. So you can just hoon away. Just don't run your battery past the limit because you can damage your battery that way. Now, you got hooning, drag racing. Drag racing, totally different. The tires you use for hooning, you don't want to use for drag racing. Hooning wants to spin, drag doesn't want to spin. The gear that you use in drag, you don't want to use in hooning because you'll burn up your system. Now, speed running versus drag racing, you don't want to use the same gear in speed runs, because on a drag race hit, you're trying to get more that you can in 132 feet, and in doing that, you're gonna lose top end. Speed run, you want top end, so you want reverse. So you want your tires to be different from that. You ain't worried about a lot of grip, but you want it to be strong enough to handle a whole lot of rotations. So remember those three things. Now, I'm done. And before I get out of here, for those who are still with me, I'm coming up with a new series when we get together, y'all, and it's gonna start. It's called Call Outs, No Excuses. And this is the reason it's called Call Outs, No Excuses. If you call someone out, be prepared to race 3 races. We're gonna highlight that call out. We're gonna make 3 races. You're gonna flip for the lane or call for the lane, however the racers decide. Once we decide what lane is, say I was racing and I won and I'll call for right lane. Okay, race number 1, I'm gonna be in the right lane. Race goes. Race number 2, I gotta go to the left lane. Whoever I'm racing goes to the right. We race. Now, if I win in the first and second race, it's over. But if it's a tie, then we switch again and I get to go back to the right lane, and then we break the tie. That way, when it's over, no excuses. It's nothing to talk about. You had your call out, you get your win, you got your win, or if you got your loss, you take your loss. But no excuses. Now, in these call outs, we're gonna try to think of some other ways to make it interesting, but you guys get ready to see that from some of the races that's been around. Some of the races is coming back. I don't know if you guys know Kenny Man, if you've been watching long enough, but Kenny Man is about to return. Somebody must have said his name 3 times because he's back. Yeah, we're gonna do the call out, no excuses, and I'm gonna get points. I'm gonna give points to those winners of those races, because we're gonna do a point series to give out the belt. The belt will be given out. Somebody will be holding it at the end of the year. I would like to be holding it. I'm gonna shoot for it, but who knows who it's gonna be. People getting faster, people learning more. There's people dedicated. There's people really doing some things. You guys get ready to see Leo make an appearance soon. I think he's about to show up and show some things. George, So Slow, he's about to show y'all some things. I know about him. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm gonna let you see it when it comes. What else? Let's just put it this way. There are some fast races coming. Summer's almost over, but like I told you, it's gonna be a fast summer. So until next time, y'all, you know my saying, don't get mad, get faster. All right, later, y'all. Peace.
Mr. Collins.